Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, then I will commence the meeting. Can I welcome all members and officers to the meeting of this council on the 21st of October 2020, which, due to government advice to practical distancing, will be held virtually. The meeting is being recorded and will be available via the council's website to be viewed as soon as is practicable following this meeting. Everyone participating in this meeting will be accessing it from remote locations. Please could everybody ensure that mobile phones are switched off or to silent mode. I'm now going to break with protocol and just say something for those who were in the previous meeting just 5 minutes ago, and at risk of not declaring a personal interest, I think I can say, not only as the Mayor, but as the partner of Councillor Julia Williams, that this council collectively acknowledges her bravery in providing an example to us all in the face of great personal adversity and in vocalising the issues facing her and so many others during this pandemic. I hope you as members don't mind me saying that. Members will have received an electronic copy of the agenda. I will ask to present a summary of the key points. For the record, the agenda can be viewed on the Council's website. Members and officers will be speaking at various points during the meeting, and those speaking may switch their cameras on at that point. But I would ask that, with the exception of myself as Mayor, at all other times you keep your cameras and microphones switched off, as this will help to minimise any background noise and interference and to ensure the connection remains as stable as possible. If any members and officers wish to raise a point or question, they should use the instant messaging IM icon in the bottom left of the Skype window and simply type speak, and I will come to you in the order I receive the requests. Please do not use your microphone until I invite you to do so. In the event that the Council requires to vote on any item of business before it at the meeting, the monitoring officer will call out the name of each member present in turn and request them to vote verbally, either for, against, or abstain. I will then ask the monitoring officer to announce the result of the vote and Council's decision on the item. Officers from Democratic Services and ICT will be supporting the meeting and will be monitoring the use of microphones throughout, and where necessary will mute those not being used. Before we formally commence, I will now ask the officer from Democratic Services to announce the names of the councillors in attendance at this meeting. I would also ask the officers to introduce themselves as and when I invite them to speak during the course of the meeting. They too should ensure microphones and cameras are switched off when not in use. Okay, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to announce the members not here, but there may be a delay of some coming over from the pre-meeting, so I'll announce who's here. Councillor Alex Williams, Councillor Altaf Hussain, Councillor Amanda Williams, Councillor Brian Jones, Councillor Bridie Sedgbeer, Councillor Caroline Webster, Councillor Charles Smith, Councillor David Edwards, Councillor David Lewis, Councillor David White, Councillor Denisha Patel, Councillor Elaine Venables, Councillor Gareth Howells, Councillor Gary Thomas, Councillor Hugh David, Councillor Howell Williams, Councillor Jane Gebby, Councillor Janice Lewis, Councillor John McCarthy, Councillor John Spanswick, Councillor John Paul Blundell, Councillor Julia Williams, Councillor Kay Rowlands, Councillor Kenneth Watts, Mayor, Councillor Lynn Walters, Councillor Martin Jones, Councillor Mike Clark, Councillor Mike Kern, Councillor Nicole Burnett, Councillor Nora Clark, Councillor Paul Davis, Councillor Richard Collins, Councillor Richard Granville, Councillor Richard Young, Councillor Rod Shaw, Councillor Ross Penhale Thomas, Councillor Sean Aspey, Councillor Sorrel Dendy, Councillor Stephen Smith, Councillor Stuart Baldwin, Councillor Tom Beadle, Councillor Tom Gifford, and I think, Councillor Phil White and Councillor Sadie Fadell, Councillor Matthew Foisey. And I think, Chair, Mr. Mayor, that's it.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Can I speak?
Can I say we have two absences, I believe. Apologies for absence on item 1.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have apologies from Councillor Jefferson Tilsley and Councillor James Radcliffe.
Thank you very much. Are there any other apologies, please?
Mr. Mayor, may I speak, please? Councillor
Yes,
Markham,
Malcolm.
I'm
Yes,
present.
go ahead.
I am present. My name wasn't read out.
My apologies.
As am I, Councillor Cheryl Green.
Okay. Mark, have you got those two?
That's noted, Mr. Mayor.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Tim Thomas as well. I'm here also, and I also wasn't read out.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thomas. Okay, Mark.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, apologies for that. Maybe the members were coming over from the previous meeting. Sorry, I omitted that.
Okay, we'll move on then to item 2, declarations of interest. Does anybody have any?
Mr. Mayor, can I just come in? My connection, I lost my connection. I'm not quite sure whether my name was called out.
Okay, Councillor Clark Nora. Mark, did you call out Councillor Nora Clark?
I think I did, Mr. Mayor, but that's noted as well.
But both myself and Michael dropped out. I guess it was something to do here.
Okay, thanks for that.
Okay, we'll move back to item 2 then, declarations of interest. To receive declarations of personal and prejudicial interest from members, officers, in accordance with the provisions of the Members' Code of Conduct adopted by Council from the 1st of September 2008. Are there any declarations, please? No?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, sorry, I have indicated I've just declared in a prejudicial interest in relation to item 6 with Valleys to Coast, and I'll be withdrawing from the meeting for that time.
Yes, thank you, Stuart. I've just seen your message now. Okay, thank you. That's just one. Any other declarations? Okay, moving on then to item 3, approval of minutes. To receive the approval of the minutes of meeting held in Council on the 16th of September 2020. Are there any move or...
Move to accept the minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Move. Second.
Thank you. Are there any amendments?
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind.
Councillor Baldwin, I've got you again.
You have, yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just a point of clarity. On page 3, it says that I declared an interest a personal interest in relation to the city deal. That was just to say that was declared subsequently to the meeting. So it just it's included in there, but it needs to show that it was recorded afterwards.
Okay, Mark, have you got that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, been noted.
Thank you. Councillor Voisey, you wish to speak?
Yes, please. Sorry, I can't get the video to work a sec.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah, it's around item 436 in the minutes. That during the meeting, the mayor made some an accusation against the Conservative group. He has subsequently, during the AGM, made a formal apology, and I'd like to just have it noted in the minutes that he has done so, and recognise that it could have been any member of the council that made that declaration and not a member of the Conservative group.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Voisey. Mark, have you got that?
Noted, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. No more amendments? I can't see any further speakers coming up. Okay, we're on to item 4 then, and that's my announcement. I wish to say that welcome to my first council meeting since being invested as mayor. I hope that you and your families are all keeping safe and well, especially during this next lockdown, which we are going to all experience. Despite these unusual times, I have had the pleasure of carrying out my first and one engagement, albeit virtually. I spoke to a Mr. Lawrence Brophy, many of you may have heard of him, of Pencoed, who at 8 years of age cycled from Land's End to John O'Groats, and as if that wasn't enough, he cycled back again. And he raised over £5,000 for the homeless charity Llamau. Not only did Mr. Brophy complete this amazing journey, he did it with no support team and slept rough along the way so as to better understand the challenges of being homeless and vulnerable. Mr. Brophy is already planning his next challenge, which is possibly going to be the Three Peaks. It was inspiring to speak with someone who has so much enthusiasm, drive and desire to help those less fortunate than himself. I have subsequently written to Mr. Brophy and expressed the Council's admiration and support for his future endeavours. As I advised in my mayoral acceptance speech, the charities I will be supporting during my term of office are Parkinson's UK and Epilepsy Society. I'm looking forward at the feasibility of holding some form of virtual fundraising events and will of course update you with any future details. And of course, because of the current situation, fundraising is going to be extremely difficult. So I do again ask members to please make a donation to the mayoral's account through the BCBC mayoral webpage. Thank you so much. Moving on to item 5, to receive the announcements of the lead, Councillor Hugh David, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Earlier this week, Welsh Government confirmed that the whole of Wales is to enter into a 2-week firebreak period of lockdown that will begin on Friday the 23rd of October and end on Monday the 9th of November. With as many as 2,500 people contracting coronavirus every day in Wales, the First Minister confirmed the action has been essential to turn this tide around and to prevent hospitals and critical care units from becoming overwhelmed in the weeks and months ahead. The move will also support efforts to limit restrictions around the forthcoming Christmas and New Year periods and follows efforts by Welsh Government to keep Wales safe by preventing people travelling to Wales from coronavirus hotspots in England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. The firebreak will impose a number of restrictions upon households and businesses throughout Wales throughout its duration. People will need to stay at home and also work from home wherever possible. You will only be able to go out for essential reasons, e.g. to buy food or pick up prescription medicine, and can also leave home to exercise either alone, with members of your household or with a carer. Adults living alone or single parents will be able to join with other household support, but visits to other households or meetings with people you do not live with, either indoors or outdoors, will not be possible. Outdoor gatherings, including organised activities such as Halloween or bonfire night, will not be able to take place. However, an exception will be made for small-scale Remembrance Sunday events that have already been organised. While community centres, libraries and recycling centres will all need to close, local parks, playgrounds and outdoor gyms can remain open. As regards the impact upon local schools, primary and special schools will reopen as normal after the October half-term holiday, and secondary schools will reopen for children in years 7 and 8 only. Pupils will be able to attend school to take exams, but other children will need to continue with their learning from home for an extra week. All non-food retail and hospitality businesses, close contact services, and events and tourism businesses are required to close during the lockdown. This will include hairdressers, beauticians, hotels, cafes, restaurants and pubs, but takeaway and delivery services will still be able to operate. Health and NHS services will continue to operate, and where indoor public spaces remain open, face coverings must be worn, including on public transport and in taxis. Support businesses during the lockdown fortnight, whilst government has announced a new £300 million support fund. Every business covered by the small business rate relief will receive a £1,000 payment, while all small and medium-sized retail, leisure and hospitality businesses that have to close will receive a one-off payment of up to £5,000. A recently announced fund to help businesses develop in the longer term is being increased from 80 million to 100 million, with the additional 200 million, 20 million ring-fenced to support tourism and hospitality businesses. Additional discretionary grants and support will also be available, and businesses will be able to access the existing job retention scheme or the newly expanded job support scheme. UK government is also continuing to make wage support schemes available. Together with our partners, the Council is making preparations for the start of the fire and to ensure that we can continue to protect vulnerable people and provide vital services. Throughout this, the Welsh Government's rationale for instigating the fire break remains very clear. Nobody wants to enter into another lockdown situation, but all across Wales, particularly here in Bridgend, the coronavirus pandemic is getting worse, not better. The fire break is necessary to prevent our hospitals and essential services from becoming overwhelmed by coronavirus cases this autumn and winter. The worsening situation has meant that Ysbyty Serin, Field Hospital on Bridgend Industrial Estate, has already started accepting patients from the Royal Glamorgan, Prince Charles and Princess of Wales hospitals. Members know the field hospitals are designed to ease the pressure upon our main hospitals and to ensure they can continue to focus upon patients who require more specialist care. We all have to do all we can to support these efforts in order to protect ourselves, our friends, our families and our communities. As community leaders, I know all members will support these efforts. I will encourage constituents to abide by the lockdown rules. To help better understand this, Welsh Government has published a highly detailed series of frequently asked questions at their website. As well as providing a broad context for why the fire break is necessary, it also supplies answers and confirms details around a wide range of topics and is a useful resource in the event you receive any inquiries. Following the end of the fire break, Welsh Government will be announcing a new set of national rules that we anticipate will cover how people can meet, how the public sector and businesses can operate and more. We will of course bring you further details as they become known, but with hospital admissions rising rapidly, critical units close to full or already full, and a real risk of our NHS becoming overwhelmed, it is clear that action must be taken now. We must all act together in order to make it work and to save lives. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Now move on to item 6, which is the presentation by Valleys to Coast on the programme, part of the programme of future presentations to this council. I wish to welcome 4 officers from V2C who would be carrying out the presentation, and that is Joanne Oak, who is the Chief Executive Officer. Welcome, Joanne. Darren Davis, Director of Development and Asset Investment. Paul Ryle-Friend, the Chief Operating Officer. Mark Wood, Head of Communications. And Emma Howells, Director of Housing and Customer Services. You are all most welcome, and we look forward to your presentation. I have one question to you, Joanne, before you commence. Is it your preference to take questions during your presentation or at its conclusion?
If we can take questions at the end, possible, please.
Yes, okay, Joe, we'll do that if everybody, I think, will have heard that. So questions at the end, members, please. So I'll hand over to you now then, Joe.
Thank you, Mayor. Pnawn da,